Children are supposed to live their lives with reckless abandon, approaching all things completely carefree. Children are supposed to have their whole lives in front of them. Children are not supposed to have a single care in the world, not a single fear. But what is supposed to be would not be for Mark Stebbins, Jill Robinson, Christine Mihelic, and Timothy King. These 4 children would be lost to the world before any of them made it to their teenage years. For these 4 children, their carefree days of youth would be taken from them when the areas surrounding their homes, areas where they should have felt the safest, would become the stalking ground of a predator who has never been caught, a predator who would leave an entire community terrorized. And the families of Mark, Jill, Christine, and Tim would be haunted by the memories of their final moments with their children, their siblings. A predator who the world would come to know as the Oakland County Child Killer. Tonight, in part 1 of our deep dive into this case, we will remember the lives of these 4 children, the victims of this senseless crime, and also to shine a brighter light and call attention to a few other children who have over the years been linked to the Oakland County Child Killer, and make sure that we do our best to preserve their memories and detail their final days. While we may not be able to bring the killer to justice, at least we can do justice to their lives by remembering them. The abductions of Mark Stebbins, Jill Robinson, Christine Mihelic, and Timothy King, and the torture they faced while in captivity, paired with the manner in which they died, all fit into the murderer's wicked playbook, a playbook of depravity and dominance, a playbook that allowed this murderer to elude the police for nearly 5 decades. However, it has been long speculated that the Oakland County Child Killer found his first victim long before the abduction of Mark Stebbins. I'm sitting in my room, pondering life, events, and why things are the way they are. For some reason, rushing through my mind came a story I remember my mom telling me when I was a little boy. A story of a girl named Donna Sarah. Donna was born on October 2nd, 1955, in Ray Township, Macomb County, Michigan. She was described by her friends and family as a bright and bubbly girl with a kind heart. Friday, September 29th, 1972, began as a typical day for the then 16-year-old Donna, but would take a drastic turn around 1:05 p.m., the last time she would ever be seen alive. Donna's mother, Elaine, has stated that she would continue to be haunted by vivid memories of the day her daughter went missing. Because it was raining that day, Elaine had gone to South Lake High School, where Donna was a student, to pick her up so she would not have to walk home in the rain, and so that she would be home to babysit for her 5-year-old brother, Jimmy, when he arrived home from school later that afternoon. When I got to the school, she wasn't there, Sarah recalls. I figured she either got a ride or went back inside the school. I waited a few minutes and then went back to work. Elaine would later learn that she had just missed her daughter, as she had come out looking for her mother. But Elaine had already left, so Donna went back inside in an attempt to look for a ride on her own. And that would be the last time anyone would see Donna before her body was discovered. The body of Donna Sarah was found by pheasant hunters on October 20th, 1972, face down in the Tupper Brook Creek near 27 Mile and Indian Trail in rural Macomb County. She was wearing the same blue and white top, blue jeans, and brown shoes that she had been wearing when she disappeared. There would be a report of a young woman being forced into a car in the area, but it came weeks after the disappearance and was deemed as being of little help to the police. An autopsy of her body would reveal large doses of barbiturates in her system, and would further detail that during her time in captivity, she was sexually assaulted and fatally strangled to death with one of the laces of her brown hiking boots. My husband and I will never feel completely at peace until whomever did it pays for the crime, Elaine would state. Maybe their conscience is bothering them, and they will feel better if they come forward. That's all I can hope for. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I have hope that something will break. I know we can't bring her back. We can rest a lot easier if we know whoever did it was punished for it. Sadly, that peace would not come for the Sarah family, and Elaine would pass away at the age of 67 on Saturday, August 19th, in 2000, having never found the man responsible for the death of her daughter.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Are you authorized to be backstage?
No. Hey, where's
VENATOS?
Are you allowed to be here?
Just tell me what the
VENATOS.
song.
I want to take a moment to thank this video sponsor, VENATOS. At this point, there isn't much I can say that you don't already know. VENATOS offers quality gaming equipment at an affordable price, and they stand by their work with customer support that is second to none. With free shipping to the US and Canada, VENATOS makes it easy to upgrade your setup without forfeiting quality. Go to VENATOS.com and make sure to use code PressStartMom at checkout to secure your 10% discount. Thank you to VENATOS for sponsoring this video and for your unwavering support of the channel. Let's get back to the video. Jane Louise Allen, or Janie, as those closest to her called her, was the youngest of 6 children living on Guthrie Street in Royal Oak, Michigan. Jane had a history of difficult behavior, seeking attention in whatever manner she could get it, even negative. Janie seldom felt seen with 5 older siblings, and because of this she was prone to acting up, and there were several instances of her running away from home in the months prior to her disappearance. In the early afternoon of Saturday, August 7th, 1976, Jane hitchhiked from her home near 11 Mile and I-75 in Royal Oak to the home of her boyfriend, Tony, who lived off Walton Street in what is now known as Auburn Hills. The young couple visited for a couple hours, with Tony's mother eventually offering Janie a ride home, to which she would decline, and began her walk home toward the University I-75 interchange, looking to hitchhike again, this time south, towards home. Jane would never be seen alive again. 3 days later, her body was discovered over 200 miles from her Guthrie Street home in the Greater Miami River in Miamisburg, Ohio. She was found floating face down in the water, with her wrists tied behind her back, with torn strips of a t-shirt. Her body was in such a severe state of decomposition, leaving the police unable to determine the identity of the young girl. Even though Janie had not yet started high school, she looked much older than her 13 years, with the police originally listing her age as anywhere between 16 and 19 years of age. Eventually, a note would be discovered in the victim's pocket, which would lead them to the Pontiac Township area, and the link to Jane Allen was then finally made. In the week prior to her murder, Jane had taken a nasty fall, and her arm was in a sling to protect 3 rows of colorful stitches that had been put in. Whoever picked her up saw that the girl was injured, saw that she was vulnerable, saw an opportunity. There was no initial cause of death released for her, although there have been some speculation found online that her cause of death was listed as carbon monoxide poisoning from being held in the trunk of a car. Some say that that's just speculation, as one of the officers on the scene at the time said something to the effect of, "If you saw her, you'd know that she'd been murdered." Initially, the press and investigators dismissed her as a runaway, because she did have a history of running away from home. But at the time of her kidnapping and her murder, Janie was heading home to her family. A family that would never see her alive again. Kimberly, Kim Alice King, was born on October 21st, 1966, in Warren, Michigan. She was described as spirited and good-hearted, but also as a risk-taker. Kim and her older sister Connie were living with their grandparents, and the two girls were quite close. On the evening of September 15th, 1979, Kimberly told her family she was going to spend the night at her best friend Annie's house, who lived across the street. However, at 11 p.m., Kim called Connie, stating she had sneaked out of the house and was calling from a payphone on the corner of 9 and Hoover, which was very close to both Annie's home and her own. "I asked her to go right back home," Kim's sister Connie recalled later. "I was shocked that she was out that late at night. I said, then please go back to Annie's right now. She said she would. But this never occurred, and Kim Allen would never be seen again." Kim's family reported her missing to the Warren police, but investigators did not take it seriously, and yet again, the severity was downgraded to that of a runaway. And now fully grown Connie, now married and going by the name Connie Bama, is adamant that Kim would never have left them. "She wouldn't leave my older sister and I to worry about her. She wouldn't scare us that way," she insists. Bama and her sister would conduct a search for Kim themselves after they heard rumor that Kim had made her way to 11 Mile in Roseville that night. But nobody ever found her. And the days turned to weeks. The weeks turned to years. And the years turned to decades. Her case is now classified as a non-family abduction with probable foul play. Kim's best friend Annie would also recollect on her memories of that night. "I feel like that date, or those 48 hours, are scorched in my brain. I'll never forget them," she said. Annie stated that Kim liked to hang out at night. Kim would tell her family that she was spending the night at Annie's, but in actuality, she would sneak out of Annie's home and not return until the following morning. Annie still remembers the last time she saw Kim on that September night. They were in her backyard when Kim hopped the fence and left. Annie was expecting her back at her house the next morning, but Kim never showed up. She was like an older personality. I think that may have something to do with it. If she was on radio pretending she was 15 or 16, ran into the wrong crowd, that may have led to her demise, she says. Annie says that now, finally, she's forgiven her 13-year-old self for not telling an adult what Kim was up to. And she says she can only hope that answers will come soon. "It's horrible to not know," she says. As for the investigation, Warren's Deputy Police Commissioner Matt Nichols says a cold case doesn't mean a closed one. "We've been able to connect some dots, but not enough to develop a whole picture," he said. And because we have no definitive answers on what exactly happened, not just with Kim, but with Donna and with Janie, there is some potential link to the Oakland County Child Killer the police have not been able to disregard as of yet. But for the families, and for Connie Bama, they're glad that the case is not considered closed, and that sometime somebody may be able to take a look at it with a closer eye Bema knows in her heart of hearts that most likely Kim is not alive, because after all of these years, she would have made some attempt to reach out to her sister and let her know she was okay, but she still wants to bring her home, even if it's just to put her body to rest. And she says she'll never quit. It's the most important thing in my life. Absolutely. Until we find her, it will always be the most important thing in my life. And while these 3 girls may not necessarily be the victims of the Oakland County Child Killer, and the details of their disappearances don't necessarily line up fully with the motive of the babysitter killer, it is still very much important that these 3 girls' lives don't go forgotten. And that's why in covering this case, I did want to take some time to acknowledge the possible victims as well. Because while we're talking about one very specific series of crimes, it doesn't make their disappearance and murders any less tragic and any less relevant. These 3 girls deserve to have their names remembered just as much as Mark, Jill, Christine, and Tim. So we add to the list Donna, Janie, and Kim. In our next video, we're also going to detail 4 children that have since been disproven as victims of the Oakland County Child Killer. But again, their stories have relevance, and their families love them just as dearly as the actual victims of the Oakland County Child Killer. But for now, we remember these 3 girls, their stories, their journeys, and the legacies that they leave behind, their families still very much fighting for them, still loving them so much. And that's the power of love and the power of family. As long as we truly love those around us, they're never truly gone. They're never truly forgotten. Thank you so much once again for your patience with how long these videos are taking to come out. Like I said, I want to do it right. These kids deserve that at the very least. And of course, thank you to Stop Propaganda for being the world's best patron supporter. I'm so glad that you've been with us for all these years, and I am truly grateful to have you not just as a subscriber, not just as a patron, but as a friend. Thank you to VENATOS, and has anyone heard of Claire? And thank you, each and every one of you, for continuing to watch the videos and support this small little channel. It means a lot, and I'm glad you're all here. It makes it a lot easier to dive into these dark corners, knowing that I don't have to go it alone. Until next time, hug your family a little closer tonight. Tell them you love them. Every day matters. Every day counts. And you are all important and loved. Good night.